Right, how's it going, everyone? Another video today. We're talking about a very underrated topic in the gym, and it's going to help you training massively when you're trying to get as big as we possibly can be. Right, so it's improving your rep accuracy. Now, what do I mean by rep accuracy? I'm going to get into that now. But again, if this is something that if you ignore it, it's, as I say, it's very underrated. Ignore this, and you're going to be shortchanging a lot of your potential gains. So let's get into what I mean by rep accuracy. So what is it? In layman's terms, it's how good is your technique, and are you choosing the correct movements to then allow you to have more stimulus per set, per rep that you do. Because ultimately, the more stimulus that we can get per set and per rep, the less that we're going to have to do. If we can have a very, very stimulative set where we can stimulate hypertrophy, if we can do that with 1 to 2 sets over someone who may need 4 or 5 sets, you're always going to pick being able to do 1 to 2 sets over 4 to 5 because it just makes the most sense from a time perspective and just efficiency standpoint. Who wants to be doing 4 or 5 sets for the movements if we can get the job done as accurately as possible with 1 to 2 sets? So that's what rep accuracy is. I always get this question on Twitter when I talk about rep accuracy. People always say, what does rep accuracy mean? I'm going to send you to this video and put you in this direction, and it will set you on the right path. So how do we improve rep accuracy? Now, there's a couple of first steps that we're going to have to take before we do anything else. Now, first thing, it's always going to require a bit of an ego check because, let's be honest, most people across gyms, you look everywhere you go, whatever gym you go, most people are using too much weight with terrible technique. They're trying to move weight from A to B, and they're not putting as much tension on the target muscle as they possibly can. They're more interested in probably trying to impress other people in the gym, to post their lifts onto Twitter or their Instagram, social media, to get the dopamine, the likes all flooding in from everybody to be hoisting about all of these plates on the barbell or machine. So you need to let go of that. You need to go in there with a mission of, look, I'm trying to put as much stimulus on the target muscle as possible, and the weight is a means to an end. Obviously, we want to get stronger over time. We know that. We have to do that. But that doesn't mean that we come in and we just move weight with bullshit technique, because ultimately, all of this sort of bullshit behavior will hold you back from getting jacked and as big as you could be. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want any bullshit like that to be holding me back. So you need to make sure you take all of this on board and you implement what I'm about to say. So, what do we need to do? Well, let me just move this face over here so it's not in the way. Bear with me. There we go. Right. How do we improve rep accuracy? So what do we need to do? The first thing before anything, as I said before, it's exercise selection. If you're picking a terrible exercise selection and you're going into a set already with down tools, you're doing some exercise which is not the best for your body type, or it's just not the best exercise in general, it's obviously not going to be as stimulative as something if you pick something which fit and worked with your structure, had a good resistance profile, it was just designed well as a machine or anything like that. Obviously, picking something that is better designed for you is going to give you more stimulus per set. That's pretty obvious. So it all starts with the setup for the tools that you pick to do the job. Pick the right tools, will be more stimulative. If not, you could be not as efficient as possible. So, second thing, if we're in a set, we need to make sure that the actual target muscle that we're trying to work is the limiting factor. For example, let's say we're trying to work our lats, on whether that be a pull down or a single arm cable row. And as towards the end of a set, it's not the lats that is the limiting factor, it's your bicep. You start using excessive momentum from the hip, all of that sort of bullshit that you see a lot of people doing. Again, that's not going to be a very accurate set if you're letting other muscles take over. Okay, so again, that goes into the third point as well. We're trying to limit the involvement of the secondary muscles and all of that stuff. we're trying to milk the most out of every rep too. That's one thing you always see in gyms as well. People do not control the eccentric. They may squeeze at the top, for example, and then they just let the weight drop. I always see this all the time on a lot of presses that people do, whether it be a bench press, Smith machine press, dumbbell press. I've even done it. I've been culprit of this. I've had to check myself over the last few months on this as well. So again, this is me still checking myself and calling myself out on my own bullshit. So if I'm doing it, I guarantee a lot of people listening to this need to do it as well. You need to control the eccentric. You do not just drop the weight. You need to take 2 to 3 seconds, really milk the most out of every rep. Also, another thing we can do, we can add a 1 to 2 second pause at both of the end ranges on some movements, especially back training, for example. Let's say we have a lat pull down or a chest supported row. If we squeeze both end ranges, so what do I mean by the end range? So at the top in the contractor position, if we pause that for 1 to 2 seconds, we control on the way down 2 to 3 seconds, and then we hang about in that pause position in the full stretch for 1 to 2 seconds, and then we pull again. We limit the stress reflex. We put as much tension on the muscle as we can. So there's just one rep. Imagine that. 2 seconds at the top squeeze, 2 or 3 on the way down. You hang about there in the bottom for 1 to 2 seconds. Each rep will take 6-7 seconds when it's performed correctly. You do a set of 6 to 8 reps properly, that set will take you 50 seconds to a minute, and that's what you're looking for. I don't know how many times I'll see someone do a set of chest supported row, for example, for a set of 8 to 10, and it's done within 20 seconds, and they're giving it all at the chicken head reps, which I always talk about. That's a load of bullshit. We don't want that. So ultimately, improving your rep accuracy, you're going to need to lighten the weight. You're going to need to learn how to control the weight properly, and practice makes perfect. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes months and months and months, years and years of practicing and doing this correctly, and also to fine tune things. So let's give a good example of, you see this all the time. So we're going to have 2 lifters and we're trying to train their upper back. Which one of these lifters is going to have better rep accuracy and set accuracy and going to get a better stimulus? So we have lifter A is using a barbell bent over row. The weight is too heavy in the first place. He gets 10 reps, 6 or 7 of them are poor, where you're using excessive momentum with the hips and lower back just to throw the weight up. There's zero control in the end ranges, so there's no squeeze at the top. There's no lower and under control. He just drops the weight and there's no pause in the stretch. It's just complete momentum and just moving weight from A to B. That's lifter A. Then lifter B is using a chest supported T-bar row as an example. We're using a moderately heavy weight where you're able to fail in that 5 to 10 rep range. The upper back is the actual limiting factor, obviously, because we have the chest support as well. We're not allowing the lower back to take over, the hips to take over. The upper back is truly the limiting factor. We squeeze the end ranges, so we squeeze at the peak contraction for a second or two. We lower the eccentric under control, and then we hang about in that bottom full stretch position for 1 or 2 seconds, take out all the momentum, and then we pull again. Which of those lifters is going to get a better stimulus? Who's got the better rep accuracy? And ultimately, who's going to get more out of less? It's obvious that it's lifter B. Now, firstly, we can get into exercise selection, and we can argue about bent over row not being as optimal as a chest supported T-bar row. We can argue about that all day. But ideally, going into this, the better exercise selection for pure upper back stimulus is always going to be anything chest supported, because we take out any sort of stabilization, anything like that. We don't have to worry about other muscles getting involved or taking over. We have more of a coordination demand with the barbell bent over row, which is then it's going to take up more energy by the body. It's not going to be able to focus on driving as much mechanical tension to the upper back that we can do with the chest supported row, because we're taking out of a lot of the other unnecessary fatigue factors, which will influence ultimately how much mechanical tension we can drive to the upper back. So instantly, lifter B is, for the most part, is picking a better exercise. Secondly, they're using a weight where they're going to be able to fall in the 5 to 10 rep range with good technique. They're not going too heavy. The upper back is the actual limiting factor. Again, not letting other muscles and secondary muscles take over. and they're squeezing and controlling the end ranges and controlling the eccentric. So again, it's obvious that lifter B is going to get a better stimulus. Now you see this all the time in gyms. This is just one example. You could do this with a bench press, any sort of leg training with squats, hack squats, leg presses, whatever. So many people are stuck in this lifter A category where they've got a poor, terrible exercise selection. They're just stuck to using a barbell only, and they're trying to leverage the most amount of weight possible with zero control. This type of lifting, again, it's not going to get you as big as you can do. Not that the barbell row is a terribly poor exercise. If you were to control it and be smart about it, you can still get a good stimulus, but I'd always pick a chest supported row every day of the week over a barbell row. So again, that's just food for thought. That's just an example that will help you out. So again, I've got to move my face over here again. Bear with me. Right, so what is the benefits of improving our rep accuracy? Why do we even care about this? So ultimately, you're not going to need as many sets to get a robust hypertrophy stimulus. We're not going to be in the gym as long, messing around, wasting our time. You'll find 1 to 2 sets per exercise, taken to failure or right up to failure, is going to be a lot more stimulative than trying to do 4 or 5 with poor rep accuracy. Less wear and tear on the joints, better stimulus to fatigue ratios all around, less wasted time doing unnecessary bullshit. So what's not to love about that? So just to finish off, closing thoughts, everything you do in the gym, train with intent. Know exactly why you're doing everything in the gym. Know exactly the technique that you should be using, the target muscle. Know why you're doing a certain rep range, why you're doing this, why you're doing that. Make everything you do make sense. Get out of that mindset of just throwing weight around, because ultimately that will hold you back. Okay, be smart about your training. Think very critically. Know why you're doing it, and you're going to get a lot more jacked than the idiot who was just in there just throwing weight around. Okay, save throwing weight around and moving weight with poor technique. Save that for the idiots. You're not one of them. Okay, so let me know what you think. Give me some comments down below. Any ideas for any other videos that you'd like to see, let me know. And yeah, just anything you need from me, let me know down below. And I'm always happy to make these videos, and I'll always be making more in the future. So I'll talk to you all in the next one.